Now we're going to take a closer look at Veeam Intelligent Diagnostics. We're going to look at some Veeam ONE alarms and remediation actions, and a couple of the other features that have come to Veeam ONE version 10. First and foremost, we are in our data protection view, and this is the view where we can see everything that has to do with our Veeam environment. If we go over to the Veeam ONE agent, this is really what enables Veeam Intelligent Diagnostics. So we have our agents installed on our servers here. You can kind of see the agent status and everything. If we needed to install agents, we could do it right here. We could run log analysis on demand or on a schedule. We have it running every day at 2 a.m. And you can see the signatures have recently been updated. Everything looks good. It'll go update the signatures automatically for us. And remember, it's connecting to Veeam and pulling down the signatures, right? It's an XML file. It's pulling it down. It's not like some other systems where you have to send anything to Veeam or send any data. We don't do that. We pull down the XML file with the signatures for VID in them. And then on this agent on your Veeam server is where all your logs are parsed and everything is done. So nothing ever leaves the confines of your Veeam environment. Now, like you can see, it's updating the signatures automatically. But if you were using a Veeam ONE server that wasn't connected to the internet, you could just head on over to veeam.com, download the signature file, and import it right here. So let's go take a look at a couple of things here. So let's start with this server right here. Now, this is a version 10 server. So if I come over here to File Jobs, we can see that I can see all of my NAS backup jobs, which is really a really big feature in version 10, right? So here I can see how all my jobs are doing, success and failed. I can run reports if I went into Reporter on all that kind of stuff, but here's kind of your file information at a glance. We have a couple of other things in here. So if we expand this, we can see everything that is connected, of course, to our Veeam server. So we have all of our backup repositories. I want to call your attention to a couple of them. This is an NFS-based repository, also new in version 10. So I can just have an NFS share and use that as a backup repository, which is really good if you have some, NAS storage just sitting around doing nothing, right? And here's my external repository from backup and replication. Remember, this is just my backup repository that I'm using in Microsoft Azure. So it's Veeam backup from Microsoft Azure's repository, but I'm monitoring it with Veeam ONE because I have it connected to backup and replication. I think we've looked at this server enough, so let's head on over to this one right here. And we're gonna go look at our alarms. And there are a ton of alarms in this environment, which is by design, of course, because I want to be able to show people all the fun things that Veeam ONE can do. So let's start with this one right here. So this is actually a Veeam Intelligent Diagnostics alarm. And there was a vulnerability in the Veeam ONE agent. So if anybody has this triggered in your environment, go log into Veeam ONE, check Veeam Intelligent Diagnostics, checks your alarms. You should fix it ASAP. Now, when you have an alarm that's a VID alarm that's been triggered, you're going to find out exactly what you need to do. So if we look at this resolution, we could click on the KB article and load it right here. I'm not going to do that right now. But what's really key is you have a signature UID. So if you need to open a ticket online or call Veeam support, if you give them this number right here, this VID 226293, they're going to know exactly what they're dealing with, and they're going to be able to streamline your support experience. Everything's going to go much faster. So this is something that Veeam Intelligent Diagnostics caught. Let's look at a couple of other alarms. Suspicious incremental backup size. We have a lot of that going on in environment. Just because this is my lab, right? So I'm backing up all sorts of stuff I'm doing crazy testing with. So we could see that the increment created by this job is above the threshold of 200%, so it's been triggered. Remember, all the alarms are completely customizable, so you could go in there and change them to whatever you want, right? So you might say, okay, this app, I know there's a lot of changes. I want it like at the default of 200%, or this app, there's not a lot of changes, not to be changing at all, so I'm gonna put in a really low increment, like 20%, whatever you need to do. And then we have a couple other alarms. We have this one right here, backup job disabled. Now, if I scroll over here, you can see that remediation is enabled for this. It's manual. But this job has a built-in Veeam remediation action. So let's take a look at it. Let's edit it real quick. So if we edit our alarm, we come on over to actions, we can see everything, right? So this is canned. It comes right with Veeam ONE. You're going to enable the backup job, and right now it's set to by approval. It could be automatic, and then it would just do it all by itself, right? But sometimes people want that manual intervention. So by approval, we're going to enable the backup jobs that have been disabled. You could also, for any alarm in Veeam ONE, basically set your own remediation action. So what you could do here is come here and say run a script, and you could have Veeam ONE execute that script whenever this alarm was encountered, right? Because we can make alarms for basically whatever conditions we want. So that's a really nice feature. If we come over to here and we expand this tab right here, I have my backup job disabled, and now I have a remediate section, right? And it says approve action because it's set to approval. We're just going to say, I approve, put my initials so everybody knows it was me. We're going to say okay, and then it's just going to go and enable our backup jobs for us. So that's a really neat feature of Veeam ONE. So if we come back to our summary screen, again, we have this nice little dashboard of what's going on in our environment. We have lots of issues we're going to look into my test lab. But what we looked at today was a couple of things. We looked at how powerful that Veeam Intelligent Diagnostics can be, right? We're going to catch a lot of different issues from your Veeam environment. It's a very proactive way to keep things running. We saw how powerful Veeam remediation actions are, right? Any kind of alarm you can create a custom remediation action to do whatever you need to do when that alarm condition is met. There's a bunch of them that come with Veeam ONE out of the box. And then we took a look at some of the new features in Veeam ONE. We took a look at all the different repository types. We took a look at our file backup jobs, because when we have a new feature of VNR, Veeam is really good at bringing that into Veeam ONE to make sure that we can monitor whatever we're newly backing up. Now let's go back to the presentation.